So, I have another story, and it's not about Sophia Petrillo. It's about a married couple that I met years ago when my kids were young and we were going to church. I felt it was good for them to, and for me at the time to be going to church. Anyway, um, there was a couple that they were a little rough, but they were friendly, and sometimes they would invite me and the boys over. They had a son that sometimes would hang out with my sons. Um, so, like, they would invite us over at times for, like, maybe a holiday meal or a barbecue, and they would invite different people. So, one time, I think it might have been Thanksgiving one year. It might have been like when my father was still alive and he was too sick to travel, and maybe the weather was bad and I didn't want to drag the kids all the way into Queens. So anyway, I'm always digressing. I had asked this couple how they met. They had two kids, and the wife used to mention an older daughter that I had never met. And I think that day it came out that the older daughter was by a previous marriage. So I think that's what got the dialogue going. So I had asked them how they met. And this is an interesting story. They both told me the story, like they were telling it like they were almost taking turns. What happened is, we'll call the wife Debbie and we'll call the husband Tony. Okay. So Debbie had said that she was previously married and he was horrible and she had like a toddler. And so she gotten divorced and she met somebody and they were living together. And so it was her fiance, herself, and the toddler. And she worked a lot. And her fiance had gotten out of the army. And they were engaged. And what happened was he had an army buddy, and that was Tony. And when Tony was getting out of the army, he needed a place to stay for a while. And since they were buddies from the army, the guy, I don't know what his name was, said, "Oh, Tony, you can come and stay with us, right?" So Tony's staying at their apartment and gets to know Debbie and the toddler and everything, and he sees his buddy. And so he's there, and I guess he saw what Debbie was like, and he must have had like his eye on her, but according to them, nothing was going on or anything like that. And Debbie was getting a bad vibe or an inkling, something, I'm trying to remember the story, but I do remember that one time when he was out, the fiancé, Debbie was home with her daughter and Tony. And she said something to Tony, and Tony said he flirts with other women, or he might be cheating on you. And Debbie was like, "Oh, no, 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 no." And Tony said, "Let's get you a babysitter right now." And so they get a babysitter, and he says, "Get in the car, Debbie." He knew exactly where the fiancé was, and takes her there. The fiancé doesn't see them. I don't know if it was a bar or what. And he says, just watch. Sit down and just watch. You don't have to confront him. You don't have to say anything. Just watch his behavior. And she saw her fiancé. I don't know if he was like hanging on a bunch of women or hanging on one woman, but like they kind of hung back and stayed there for a while and just watched. then they left, and he had never seen them. And I guess within 24 hours, she confronted the fiance, and I guess they split up. And then, after that, Tony told Debbie that he loved her and that he wanted to marry her and that he would love to be a father to her child, like a stepfather. And they told me that they got married, and the song from the wedding was that song by Journey, Open Arms. And then they ended up having 2 kids. And I think they were a good match because they were both kind of rough. But like they were like salt and pepper, or they just went together, you know. But you know, it's funny. Like I've heard like millions of stories in my lifetime, and certain stories I remember and it sticks out. But like that Just Watch, it's true. You don't have to do much. You don't have to say much. Just watch. When you slow down, this kind of ties into one of my recent stories. Slow down. Sit back. Don't do anything. Just watch. People show us who they are, but a lot of times we don't want to see it or we don't want to listen. So I'm a kind of observant type person. And when it comes to YouTube, for instance, and you really want to get a read on a person, I've said if they actually do a video, put the video on and turn the volume off. Do not listen to a word they say because it's real easy to lie. Look at the body language. Look at everything in the video, like in the background, up, down, left, right, whatever. And then, listen to it again, now with the volume on. Watch it with the volume. And do the words match the body language to the words. The story match what you see in the background. Like, I don't know, I think the older I get, the easier I find it to read people, to get a read on people. And it bothers me a lot of times when I can get a read on someone. And to me, I think it's fairly obvious what's going on. And if you tell someone, they go, oh, no, 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 no. What are you talking about? Or blah, blah, blah. No. You know what? Once I kind of get that read on somebody, it takes a lot to convince me that I'm wrong. Because, you know, this one woman that I knew that I was friendly with for a while, and we went on cruises at the same time, she said the same thing. She was in the field of psychology. She said the same thing. Look at the body language. Because on cruises, we met a lot of people. And she would say, like, oh, did you see how that person made a face when you brought up this and how this person did that? And she was right. She was right. You really have to look at the body language, the facial expressions, the whole... I learned a lot of this later in life. Had I known this when I was like a teenager, I could have ruled the world. Anyway, everyone, have a great day, and don't listen to a word anyone says. Just look at the body language. Love you. Bye.